Robertson.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Kia ora tātou no reire te whare and malo safua, Mr Chairman, te lofa lava, and thank you, whawhatai lava, for the opportunity. Mr Chairman, I want first of all, given this is my second call, to acknowledge the Minister, the Honourable Rodney Hyde, for his consideration of my supplementary order paper, because I think it's important that what he said, it was something that Auckland needs to take cognizance of. In other words, that the Auckland Council needs to look at the issue of a senior citizens advisory panel. I also, Mr Chairman, want to acknowledge the Honourable Member Honi Harawira for his passionate consideration about the establishment for Maori seats. And all of us want to see democracy and representation in Auckland. And that's why, Mr Chairman, I advocated so strongly in my previous address to this House for the establishment of a senior citizens advisory panel. Mr Chairman, I want to advocate now for small business. Auckland is the home to 1.4 million people. And it's also home to small business. These are the engine room of growth, the locomotive of growth. These are the businesses that soak up all the unemployed. These are the businesses that make a huge difference. They're mostly mum and dad businesses. Many of them run on the smell of an oily rag. And they will be concerned to learn that the 41 Auckland Town Centre organisations, and I say this because I have this information from the manager of the Newmarket Business Association. He's concerned, Mr Chairman, because he believes that the powers of the business associations will be taken away and given to the boards. Now, I'm all for the boards, Mr Chairman, having power, because they need power in order to act for the community. But what I'd like to do is just read it into the record, and I think it's important that the Minister might like to answer this, because it's a genuine concern held by Cameron Brewer, Chief Executive of the Newmarket Business Association. So I want to know whether what his perceptions is correct or otherwise. This is what he says, Mr Chairman. We wanted to keep a direct relationship with the main municipal authority, which would be the new Auckland Council. That's what we've always had, and the region's business districts deserve nothing less. However, we're about to lose considerable access to the top and potentially our self-determination. He went on to say, Mr Chairman, that they were told that from 2012 that any future decisions in respect to business organisations would be made by local boards. And I mean, I can see where he's coming from, and I just want to get an indication from the Minister as to whether what Mr Cameron Brewer, in fact, is insinuating is in fact correct. He goes on, Mr Chairman, and he basically says that from July 2012, well, that's what I take from reading this release, that future decisions in respect to business improved districts will be made by appropriate local boards. Now, is that right or is that wrong? And if it is right, does he have anything to fear with the involvement of the local community? Because what Mr Brewer is saying is that this shows that local business people will no longer ultimately control their own business associations. And local boards will potentially start viewing business associations as cash cows to help fund the likes of infrastructural upgrades, when the likes of town centre upgrades have traditionally been funded from general rates. Now, I mean, I can understand where Mr Brewer is coming from. I can understand the business viewpoint that he expresses, because he's representing those different business areas and the 41 different boards. So I'd just like to get an opinion from the Minister whether actually Mr Brewer has anything to fear, given what he's actually expressed in this media release that he's put out. Because he goes on to say, we've always had council and community board representation around our table, and that is helpful. However, we're not used to an outside board being given the authority to call the shots on decisions around the targeted rate, marketing and branding, and what projects we should engage in. I would hope that Mr Cameron Brewer has nothing to fear And I would hope that if the boards are involved in this, that they will be given statutory powers in order for them to make good, sound management decisions that are in the interests of democracy and the people of the country.
The very patient Carol